grade 8. Today, we're going to learn how to relate fractions and decimals and percents. So when you have a fraction, you should be able to change that to a decimal and a percent. So before we start, so we know what fractions are and decimals are, and let's talk about what percent means. Okay, what does percent mean, everyone? So when you have percent, what does cent mean? Anybody knows what cent means? Cent means 100. So if you learn French, what is 100? That is cent. Same spelling. This is 100 in French, right? In Latin language, cent means 100. So percent means per 100. In other words, we say out of 100, okay? So cent means 100. Percent means out of 100. So when you have 55%, so this means 55 out of 100, okay? So you can just write it like 55 out of, division bar is out of, okay? So 55 out of 100, 55 over 100. And we can change that to a decimal number, 0.55. Everyone, before we move on, let's practice this. Some of you guys might not remember how to change a fraction to a decimal. So what's the easiest way to change from fraction to a decimal number? The easiest way is actually using a calculator. So we can just simply use a calculator. So here, so I have a calculator. So you hit 55. Division bar is same as division, 55 divided by 100. Oops. 100 equal, that is 0.55. So this is how you change a fraction to a decimal number using your calculator. But you should be able to do this without using a calculator, okay? So here, when you have a denominator, so the denominator, you have to change the denominator to a multiple of 10. So what is multiple of 10? Multiple of 10 is 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. Those are multiple of 10, right? So 100 is multiple of 10. Okay, now you count the number of zero. How many zeros do you have? You have 2 zeros, right? So since you have 2 zeros, starting from the decimal point is over here, right? Starting from the decimal point, you move 2 digits to the left, okay? So you move 2 digits to the left since you have 2 zeros. So that will be, so your decimal point will be placed over here, and the answer is 0.55. 0.55 is same as 0.55. So this is how you change from a fraction to a decimal number. So here, you have 55%. 55% is same as 55 over 100, or 0.55. So when you see percent, there are 2 meanings. Out of 100, or move the decimal point 2 digits to left. Okay? So if I ask you to convert 72% to a fraction. As I said, percent means out of 100. So you just change percent to out of 100. That is 72 out of 100, 72 over 100. Or percent means move the decimal points. Decimal points is always over here. 2 digits to the left. 1, 2. So that is 0.72. Right? Or you can change the fraction to a decimal. Okay? So you should be able to do in all directions. 72% to fraction, fraction to decimal, or decimal to fraction, fraction to percent, percent to decimal, decimal to percent. You should be able to convert to all directions. All right, everyone? All right, let's do the warm-up question. What if a student receives a mark of 46 out of 50? What would the percent and decimal be? Okay, so let's just say use the easiest way first. So the easiest way is using a calculator. So 46 divided by 50. Oops. That is 0.92. So if you use your calculator, so that is 0.92. How would you change this to a percent? Everyone, when you change decimal to percent, so you move the decimal point to the right, okay? 2 units right. So 92%. So remember everyone, when you change from percent to decimal, you move the decimal place to the left, and decimal to percent, you move the decimal point to the right. Okay? So 0.92, and that is 92%. So this is how to do this question using a calculator. And also, I want you to be able to do this without using a calculator. Okay, so if you don't want to use a calculator, first, you have to make 100 denominator because I want to have a multiple of 10. So let's multiply 2. Multiply 2. Okay, then 92 over 100. Okay? So whatever you do on the denominator, you have to do the same thing to the numerator. So we multiply both numbers by 2, and that is 92 over 100, right? Okay, so we're done. 92 out of 100, that is 92%, and that is 0.92. Okay, does everyone understand how to change from a fraction to a percent and percent to a decimal? Okay, let's move on. Okay, I have 1 over 20. I want to change this to a multiple, change this number to a multiple of 10, which is 100. So I'm just going to multiply 5 and 5. That becomes 5 over 100. Okay, 5 over 100. Over 100 is a percent, right? Over 100 is a percent. So that is 5%. And if you change this to a decimal, that will be 0.05. Next, letter B. I have 71 over 200. Okay, everyone. So if it is too confusing, you can just simply use your calculator. So you have 71 over 200. So 71 divided by 200. And that is 0.355. So the decimal will be 0.355. And after that, you're going to make this to a percent. So So to make percent, you have to move the decimal place to the right, 2 digits to the right, and your decimal point will be placed here. Okay? So since you're moving from here 1 and 2, your decimal points will be here. And don't forget to put percent. Okay? So this is decimal number 0.355 and 35.5%. Okay, this is how you use your calculator. And if you understand how to do this using a calculator, you can try this without using a calculator. Okay? So 200. So we're going to make the denominator to a multiple of 1,000. So by multiplying 5, then it will become 355 over 1,000. Okay? All right, after that, how many zeros do you have here? 3 zeros, right? So then that means you have to move the decimal places, 3 digits to the left. Then your decimal points will be placed here, 0.355. Okay? So this is the decimal. And change this to a percent. When you change this to a percent, we know how to do it. Move the decimal place to the right, 2 units to the right. Then that will be 35.5%. All right, next, 9 over 8. Again, everyone, we can do this without using a calculator. So 9 over 8. 1.125. So the decimal will be 1.125. Okay. And so we have the decimal number. Now we're going to make a percent. So we're going to move 2 decimal places to the right. Then that will be 112.5%. So it's over 100%, okay? 112.5%. And to do this without using a calculator, you should multiply 125 to make 1,000. Okay? I'm going to allow you guys to use a calculator. So be familiar. I want you to be familiar doing this with using a calculator. And also, I want you to understand how to do this without using a calculator too, right? Next, we don't really need a calculator for this question because it's already multiple of 10s. How many zeros do I have? 1, 2, 3 zeros, right? So I'm going to move from here. I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 zeros, 3 places. Then that will be, I have point here. I'm going to put zeros here, 0.005, okay? Then that is same as 0.005. So 5 over 1,000 is 0.005. So this is the decimal number. Let's change this to a percent. So we move 2 decimal places. So that is 0.5%. So this is the answer. So let's move to the next question, example 2. So now we're going to practice more changing decimal to percents and fractions. So when you have a decimal number, so when you change decimals to percent, you have to look at the decimal point. Look at the decimal point and move the decimal point to the right. Okay, so to the right. So that will be, so if you move the decimal point to the right 2 digits to the right, that will be 326 point. So if the decimal point is end of the number, we can just omit it. So it's 326%. So this is the answer. Next question. 0.78. You move the decimal point to the right. So that is 78%. Okay? Here, 0.125. Move 2 places to the right. Then 12.5%. Move 2 digits. Then that is 0.32%. Okay? So remember everyone, when you change decimal to percent, move 2 digits to right. And when you change percent to decimal, then move 2 digits to the left. So it's quite confusing, right? So what I want you to remember is when you see percent sign, for example, when you see 25%, percent means move the decimal point to the left. Okay, so remember, percent means left. Okay, so when you see percent, you move the decimal point to the left, 2 digits left. And that is 0.25. But if you don't see percent, say you have 0.15, then that means right, okay, to the right. So you move the decimal point to the right, then that is 15%. So move the points to the right and don't forget to put percent sign, okay? So this is how you change from decimals to percent and percents to decimal, okay? So remember, when you see percent, that means move 2 decimal places to the left. So percent means left and percent means out of 100. So remember that. Okay, and we haven't done this yet. So we're going to change this to a fraction. Percent means out of 100. 326 over 100. Okay? And everyone, we're going to reduce the fraction to make the simplest form. So here, so let's just divide both number by 2, right? Then the top is 163 and the bottom is 50. Okay? So those 2 are the final answer. Next, 12.5%. Again, percent means out of 100. 12.5 out of 100. Okay, look at this. But we have a decimal number as our numerator. So we don't want to have a decimal number as our numerator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 10 to make 12.5 to a whole number. So if you multiply 10, it becomes 125. And if you multiply 10, 100 becomes 1,000. Okay? So you're simply just moving one decimal to left-hand side, right-hand side. Okay? So by multiplying 10, it becomes a whole number fraction. So 125 over 1,000. So we're not done. We have to reduce the fraction by dividing both sides by 5. Both number by 5. Then it becomes 25, and this is 20. Again, we're not 20, it's 200, sorry. So it becomes 200. Again, we're not done yet. We're going to reduce more by dividing both sides by 25. and 25 becomes 1, and 200 becomes 8. So this is the final answer. So simplify the fraction and find the final answer. So those two are the final answer. Okay? So remember to reduce the fraction. 78%, 78 out of 100. So this is the fraction. And reduce the fraction. So we're going to divide both numbers by 2. 39 over 50. Okay, next. 0.32%. So that is 0.32 over 100. As I said, I don't want to have a decimal number as a numerator. So I'm going to multiply 100 to make this to be a whole number. Then 0.32 times 100 is 32. 100 times 100 is 10,000. And after that, we're going to divide both sides by 8 to reduce the fraction. And that is 4 over 1,250. So you can just simply use your calculator to do that, right? Okay. So therefore, the final answer will be percent and the fraction. Same thing here, percent and the fraction. So this is how you change from a decimal number to a fraction and to a percent, right? Okay, now we're going to change percent to fraction and decimal. So percent, I have percent. As I said, 160%, that is 160 per 100. Okay? And decimal. So percent to decimal. So when you have percent, as I said, that means move the decimal points to the left. Okay? So that is, so we're going to move 2 decimal places to the left. So that is 1.60. Okay, 1.60. Okay, so this is the fraction and this is the percent. And when you have a fraction, as I said, we want to reduce it. Let's reduce the fraction. So we just take away 0 and 0. And I have 16 over 10. And let's divide both number by 2. And that is 8 over 5. Okay? So the final answer will be 8 over 5 and 1.6. 0.7%. Again, everyone, 0.7% is out of 100, right? And I don't want to keep decimal number as my denominator. I'm just going to multiply 10. That is 7 over 1,000. So this is the fraction. Okay? And what about a decimal number? 0.7%. Percent means move the decimal point to the left. I have my decimal point here. 1, 2. Then the new place will be here. And that is 0. You fill in with 0, 0, 0, 7. So this is the decimal number here. %, 12% out of 100. So this is the fraction. And let's just divide both number by 4. Then 3 over 25. So this is the simplified form of a fraction. And 12%, percent means move the points to the left. So we're going to move 1, 2 decimal points. So then that will be 0.12. So this is the decimal number. Okay, next one. 7 and 1/4% looks very, very tricky. But let's just change the form of this. 7 and 1/4. 1/4, everyone. What is 1/4 in decimal number? 0.25. A quarter, right? 7.25%. So this is the same as 7.25%. So we're going to use this instead of this one. So let's change this to a fraction. 7.25% over 100. Okay, then I don't want to have a decimal number as my numerator, so I'm going to multiply 100. And that is 725 over 10,000. And after that, I'm going to reduce the fraction by dividing both number by 25. Okay, 725 divided by 25. You can just use your calculator to find the answer. That is 29. 10,000 divided by 25. That is 400. So I'm going to allow you to use your calculator. So feel free to use your calculator, okay? So this is how you make a fraction. And 7.25% to a decimal number. Again, percent means move the decimal point to the left. 2 digits to left. Then that will be 0.0725. So decimal points here. You have to fill in with 0. So it's 0.0725. So this is the decimal number. Alright, hopefully you guys understood how to convert from percent to fraction, fraction to decimal, decimal to percent. So you need to practice this. So because you have to do a lot of calculation, so you have to practice, right? So everyone, thanks for watching. So now I want you to start doing your homework. Bye!